listening to the Novel Universe Podcast, a monthly YA podcast hosted by Dawn and Elise Martinez, YA librarians from the Chicagoland area. Each episode features reviews and rants on new and upcoming YA books. We're here to help you navigate your TBR pile. What's good, what's bad, and everything in between. I'm Dawn, the criticizer of books.
And I'm Elise, the rejecter of romance.
So turn up the volume, here we go.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the next installment of Read Along with the Universe. Today we are going to be discussing chapters 30 through 50, and this was a doozy, y'all, so buckle up and let's get started. Chapter 30, Dawn's turning to the page, but Jude confronts Hector, and Hector states that he believes that it is ultimately his duty and destiny to kill the Pale Hand and her sister Beru, because essentially Beru is the reason why the Pale Hand is the Pale Hand. And Jude admonishes him and tells him to return to the palace with him. But obviously Hector flat out refuses, and he admits that he never wanted to be in the Order and is completely just shooting down his entire relationship with Jude. And he says that Jude has always asked for more of him than he's been able to give. And that killed me.
Yeah.
Ugh. So Hector physically threatens him, and he does so to prove that Jude would never hurt him, thus empowering Hector to pursue the Pale Hand.
Okay, so we have this oath coming up again.
Mm-hmm.
This time Hector has sworn to his family. We keep talking about oaths. We talked about it in our last podcast and how it keeps showing up. I like their dialogue. It's quite mature for a YA book. And once again, the feelings seem a little... It's not straightforward. Because when he says, you've always asked more than I know how to give. Mm-hmm. And Jude kind of stops, and it says he can't wait.
Because Jude does not believe that he has done that. In Jude's mind, he's kept everything to himself, and he has, shoved his feelings way down. So the fact that Hector was aware the whole time, is a really big, that way? Sad. That's how I interpreted it as. Yeah. He basically was like, shit, this person has seen me the entire time I've been trying to hide, and he still rejects me.
Yeah.
That's fucking rough.
Yeah. And he said in a moment, it just kind of broke the bond. Whatever it was, I guess it was Hector, whatever Hector said. Well, that's what Hector said.
Yeah.
It broke it. That was it.
Yeah.
He had let him go.
It utterly shattered. But he doesn't let him go, as we will see.
Yeah. But as at this moment, he lets him go.
Yeah, for sure. All right, chapter 31. Beru boards a train heading for Tel Amat when Hector opens the door to her compartment. Oh my god, when that door flew open and he was standing there, I was like, god damn it. We learned that Beru at one point had feelings for both Hector and his brother, whose name is Marinos. I don't know if that'll come back into play, but I just felt like that would be important to note here. Mm-hmm. She tries to tell Hector that she's still the same person that she was when he knew her, when she was living with his family, but he utterly rejects this notion, seeing as she was dead and now is not. And she reveals that she's going back to Tel Amat because she wanted to see if she could fix things. What does that mean? Not really sure. I don't think she even knows, but she's got to try something. Yeah. And Hector asks her why she lets Ephira kill people. And she simply admits that it's because she wants to live.
Yeah, it's honest.
Yep. That's a pretty good reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be complicated. She just wants to be alive.
I didn't have anything else to add.
I mean, this is a transitional chapter.
Yeah.
She's on her way to her destiny. Mm-hmm. Chapter 32, Jude wakes up in the rubble of the fallen mausoleum. If we remember from our last podcast, he and Hector had an altercation, and the mausoleum that they were standing on top of crumbled and fell. So Jude is injured, and Anton finds him in the rubble, tries to get him some medical help, and he attempts to convince Jude that Hector does not and did not have his best interests at heart when he basically left him for dead. And still, Jude is like, maybe. But, this is a really sad chapter because he reflects on how far from his destined path he has strayed. And he basically accepts the fact that, I have failed. It's over for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else in 32?
I don't, a lot of these chapters I don't have much to add. It's a pretty straightforward chapter. Yeah. It's not much to...
There's not a lot of, hidden details.
No.
Like there was in the previous podcast set of episodes. All right. Set of chapters, rather. Chapter 33, Anton leads Jude to a taverna, which I'm assuming is like a an inn. Yeah. Where he knows a reliable healer that, like, either works or, like, goes there often. So he pays the healer, whose name is Yael, to help Jude. And Yael is sneaky and tries to find out who the wounded person is, but of course Anton does not really give that information up. And then he makes plans to leave on a ship sailing from the docks the next morning. Before he leaves, he takes Jude's sword. Dun dun dun! 34. Hassan, the Order, and Kepri make plans to return to Nazira to attack the witnesses. So remember, things with them are heating up. They are on the warpath. Hassan's aunt Lethia approaches the group and apologizes for the way she reacted to his dream the other day. And in a shocking turn of events, she offers up the services of a small fleet of ships with, like, elite defenses. Yeah. And she's like, they're going to help you assist in the attack. He apologizes, she apologizes. It's a well-rounded, we're sorry. And things move on. The group plans to unveil who Hassan is and what they're going to do to the Harati refugees. And Kepri and Hassan meet later that evening and seem to come clean about everything that lies between them. But, like, don't. Because he kind of realizes, I'm the prophet, there can be no future here, and he tries to kind of let her go, I think, in his mind.
Yeah.
Anything on 34 you want
only
to add?
that I love these chapters where it's kind of the climax where not necessarily the climax, but he's like Hassan tells his aunt, you're the only one I can trust, and I'm like, dude, you're about to be in it. Yeah. You're screwed
for sure. All right, chapter 35. Afira is woken up by Ilya, Anton's brother, who she was supposed to have killed. Remember, she's still in prison. He informs her that one of the Paladin broke Anton out of jail, and Afira realizes that he must have already gotten to Baru, he being Hector. He tells her his plan to get her out of prison so she can find her sister and he can find his brother. Essentially, this means he's going to pretend that Afira is his wife and therefore couldn't be the Pale Hand because she was with him the night that the priest was murdered. And of course, there's this, like, heartfelt conversation about how Ilya is trying to get Anton's forgiveness, and it's his life goal now because he has seen the light. And he says, quote, well, she's like, what changed your mind? He's like, I found purpose. I was like, oh, that's bad. So despite still not quite believing that he's truly trying to earn Anton's forgiveness, she does agree to their plan.
The only thing I got out of this one is we learned something new. Afira says that Hector's father turned on her, and grief turned to murderous rage. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty realistic response. You killed my wife and my son, and I'm going to kill you too. But is that going to happen to Hector? Like, because he's also on this grief trip. Is it going to turn to murderous rage? We'll find out.
We will. All right, chapter 36. Jude wakes up thinking about his mistake in trusting Hector, only to realize that the pinnacle blade is gone, so that's what his sword is called. And he, like, starts frantically searching in the taverna, in his room, rather, where he sees, when he goes downstairs, he sees Anton playing a game with other guests. I was like, he's gone, dude, but obviously he wasn't. So Anton has placed the sword as collateral in the game for this, like, betting game they're playing, and Jude learns that Anton is playing against someone going to tell Amat and asks to be taken with. So the person they're playing with is Captain Remzi?
Something like that.
He is Yael's husband, and they're all going to head out to tell Amat, but they've got to, like, barter their way there or whatever. He's still on the hunt for Hector, in case the reader wasn't clear about that. And then, believing he's already failed as Keeper of the Word, he offers his gold neckband as passage aboard Captain Remzi's ship. And I'm getting the sense that this neckband was clearly, like, a signifier of who he is, and he has, like, physically and metaphorically and symbolically removed it.
Oh.
It is over.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had something confusing. Not confusing, but okay. So in this chapter, Jude says he can hear truth in hearts. Did we already know that? Like when he,
I don't really think we knew that specifically.
So when him and Hector are on top of the mausoleum, did he he heard the truth at that point? When he said, "You always wanted more than me than I could give," did he actually hear "Oh, damn, he's telling me the truth"?
Are you suggesting that he didn't physically hear those words, but that he...
No. He physically heard the words, but his grace allows him can tell when someone's lying or when someone's telling the truth.
Yeah, that we did know. I'm sorry.
I was like, he can tell truth from in hearts. I was like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought that was interesting.
Indeed. All right. Chapter 37. Anton is really flustered by Jude, who ruined his plans to escape from Palace Athos without complications. So she spends a lot of time in this chapter at the beginning, really hyping up Anton's sense of discomfort around Jude, and I don't think it's because Jude's a bad person, but I think she's setting up another romance here. So that she kind of spends time developing that in this chapter. And then despite initially falling behind, Anton does win the game. So he wins the sword back, he wins the little neckband back, etc., which could be also very metaphorical and symbolic. Keep that in mind. And then Captain Ramsey, the man who Anton was playing against, admits that he initially believed Jude to be a member of the Order, but dropped that line of thinking, and instead challenges Anton to a drinking contest. So it's kind of some comic relief there.
In this chapter, we have, what's his name, Ramsey. They're playing cards, and Ramsey says... You and I both know in the end we'll have to play the cards we're dealt, which I think this pretty much sums the second half of this book.
For sure.
Up until this point, it's all about destiny. I'm destined for this. And now it's no, now you got to play the hands that you're dealt. So I like that she kind of threw that in there from a character that's just some random character, which I'm pretty sure he'll come back into play at some point. But right now, he's rando.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good point to know. I did not know that. So, great. Okay. Chapter 38. Back in Hassan's world, they are all making their way to the steps of the temple, where again they're going to announce their plans and the identity of Hassan, when Hassan informs Penrose that Jude still has not returned. He's getting concerned about this. She admits that she doesn't know where he is, and therefore Hassan names her captain of his guard. He's like, I need somebody reliable. These bros have run off twice now. I don't know what the hell's going on. You're in charge. And she says, well, technically Jude's in charge, but I am loyal to the prophecy and the prophet first, so I accept. And Hassan tells her that he wants ships to take Harati refugees to Karamakos Fort to be safe in case the witnesses attack Palace Athos. She's like, oh my god, you're such a good man. Good for you. I always hoped that the prophet would be this righteous, upstanding individual. Ugh. So I have a feeling that we're going to get some foreshadowing there. And soon the group sees two members of the Order running towards them to tell them to turn back because the witnesses are at the temple. So that's the switch. Things are happening. And then after a brief standoff at the temple steps, the witnesses create chaos and light the temple on fire. And the chapter ends with Hassan getting injured.
I don't have anything to add.
All right, so chapter 39, Ephira and Ilya are discussing his past with Anton, and we learn essentially that they are descendants of Vasily, the Raving King. And part of Ilya's anger towards Anton had to do with the fact that their family believed that Anton was the revival of this line that had died out. And remember that they are from the Novogardian Empire. And then, so that's a major problem. We can talk about that in a second. But they find clues that lead them to the baker who gave Anton and Jude the sweets, and he's able to tell them which direction they went. And then Ilya asks Ephira to talk to Anton first before he sees him again. And she begins to kind of believe that maybe his remorse is genuine.
Yeah.
Bullshit. I know. Yeah. All right. Chapter 40. Jude and Anton discuss their fears back in the room after the game that they just won. More kind of character relationship development happening here. Anton admits that he isn't afraid of the Pale Hand, but of something else. And he attempts to persuade Jude to leave Hector behind, but soon realizes that Jude is in love with Hector. He's like, oh, I see. As they're talking, the sentry attempts to break into the room, but Jude unsheaths his sword to attack.
I chuckled when Anton looks at Jude and was like, that sounds like bullshit. That's how I read it. Like with that pause, like, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's anything else. He kind of tells him everyone wants something, even you. I feel like a little ominous.
Yeah. He's just telling him to be honest with himself, like, because he hasn't ever been told that he can do that. His life is not his own. At least that's what he's been told. Yeah.
Well, I like this chapter a lot. I wrote good chapter.
Yes, you did.
I mean, when the people come in to get Anton, Jude is like, whatever happens, I'll protect you. It's like, why would you protect this rando?
Right.
We both still think that Anton is the prophet, so maybe, he's kind of feeling some prophet vibes. But once again, we have some really honest conversations, no BS teen conversation, pretty good dialogue between the two of them.
Chapter 41, Anton is able to escape from the room as Jude prepares to fight, but Anton immediately feels his brother's presence somewhere nearby, and he runs into Ephira. And this is when he realizes that, unfortunately, Ephira has led Ilya right to him, and the three of them realize that Ilya is a liar. No shit.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't see that coming.
I mean, I didn't see this exact scenario happening, but, like, I knew he was gonna use Ephira and backstab her at some point. So Ilya has mercenaries, they attack, and he succeeds in capturing Jude and Anton and states that he's bringing them to the air vent. And Ephira somehow escapes and gets away. Anything in this chapter you wanted to add?
No.
Okay. 42. While hiding from Ilya and his mercenaries, Ephira overhears Yael talk about going to tell Amat with his husband, Captain Ramsey, and she asks to be able to board their ship, and she gives them the money that she somehow stole from the mercenaries. Moving on to 43, Hassan wakes up from the attack in the healer's tent. Remember, he previously injured himself. And Penrose admonishes him for acting outside of her command, thus getting himself injured. Remember, her goal is to keep him safe because she believes him to be the prophet. Khepri arrives to tell him that Amir has died. And this is essentially the pin in Hassan's balloon.
Yeah.
Because if we remember the dream that he had back towards the beginning middle of the book, Amir was specifically with Hassan in the end when they were conquering the witnesses and taking Nazira back. And now that Amir is dead, it pokes holes in what he saw in his dream/vision. He tells Khepri all of this. No, he doesn't yet. He does it later. Sorry, I'm mixing my chapters up.
Yeah.
But he now believes himself to not be the prophet.
Yes.
But before he can stop, like, the momentum of this whole thing, one of the paladin guards announces Hassan as the prophet. So it is public knowledge, unfortunately.
Yeah. I thought this is a really good chapter. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like now he's really conflicted because now he knows he is not the prophet. Now he's got all these people believing in him. Yeah. It's like, what is he going to do? Is he going to... Well, we're gonna find out. Just keep reading. But I think this is a pretty important chapter for his character.
Yes, and anyway. I appreciate that he in this chapter and in the next chapter when we see him, he is trying to right the ship. Yeah, yeah.
The fact that Penrose is like, "You're a good man," that's got to be in the back of his head. Like, oh damn,
right. Yeah. So chapter 44, Baru and Hector return to her village of Medea in Telamat, and she sees the bodies of all of the people that she destroyed, and reflects on how she died before Ephira raised her from the dead. She tells Hector to kill her, And the chapter ends with him unsheathing his sword and swinging it towards her head.
Yeah, that was a good
Ooh.
chapter. I mean, just the visual of these bones just everywhere. I mean, we don't know how many people lived in this little village, but oh my god.
A couple hundred at least.
They're just everywhere.
When you
and
think
then
about that,
the ending. And I'm going to be honest, because I'm a good woman. I'm just kidding. I kind of flipped and was like, does Baru show up again? Oh, she does. Okay, she's not dead. I cheated.
When I was reading this, I literally stopped reading the chapter. I was like, what? I was like, Dawn, is she dead? She's like, I don't know. Yeah, that was a really tense chapter. 45, Jude wakes up in prison with the mercenaries who have shackled him with cuffs made of godfire. And this cuts him off from using his grace. He soon realizes he's on a ship, and Anton is in the cell with him. And Jude decides to confront Anton about the truth of the situation, in that, like, did you know that your brother was involved in the Aerophant, etc., etc. Of course, Anton does not, because he spent most of his life trying to escape from his brother. And Jude, the chapter ends with Jude really lamenting at being a failed keeper of the word and failing the prophet. He's just like, he is overcome with guilt and regret. Yeah, he's 100% defeated. Chapter 46, Hassan tells Khepri that there is no way that this is the prophet. That he is the prophet. Again, because Emir was supposed to be with him. And Khepri tells him to keep believing, but he does not. At the same time, his aunt informs him that his father, was ordered to be executed by the Aerophant and has been dead for 2 days.
Yeah.
That bitch. Holding on to that information, do we know? We don't know, but we will find out. No, we do. Okay. Anyway, anything on chapter 46?
Yeah, I think this is another big chapter, because we have Destiny comes in again. Khepri has said the word destiny. And it kind of made me think of Hector, who is using destiny as an excuse to kill, which is bad. But then we have Hassan, who's using destiny as an excuse to not move forward and be, not want to say the hero, but like make moves and save his people. So they're both kind of using destiny as a crutch, in different ways, but they still are. And I think it also comes back to Ramsey, and when he said, what was it? In the end, we all have to play the card that we're dealt. So his cards are, I am not the prophet. However, my people need me. What am I going to do? Right. And once again, I thought their conversation was really honest. I'm starting to like Hassan and Khepri. At first, I was like, oh God, here these two go. But I'm not mad at them now. Are they my favorite ship in the book? No. I think Jude and Anton, if that's going to go somewhere, that could just be like, a Batman and Robin situation. I don't know. But I'm not mad at Khepri and Hassan anymore as a couple.
I don't give a shit.
Oh no.
I was skimming through that little kissing scene.
No.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
It's not badly written. It's totally not the author. It's just me.
Yeah.
What chapter was that? Okay. Now we're moving on to chapter 47. Hector attempts to kill Baru but fails, saying even though he knows he would be able to save the world, he cannot end a life. So here we go with that honor. He tells her of the prophecy, and him being involved in the Order of the Last Light has allowed him to have access to certain information about how kind of the end of the world, or like the way things are going to go down, and this is why he believes that he needed to kill her. It wasn't about revenge for his family. That was kind of a good bit of information to reveal to the reader, because it's like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, not that your family isn't important and that you can't understand why he's feeling that way, but I just felt like this deepened his character quite a bit for me. He believes her to be the Harbinger, who, is said to bring about the Age of Darkness. The reader kind of already knew this, but just the discussion, I think, needed to happen. And immediately when he says it, she knows that it's her. Like, she feels it in her bones that she's a thing of evil. And Baru tells Hector that even if he doesn't kill her, she's dying. So he vows to stay with her until the end.
I thought it was interesting that she said, I am here, I have been saved for a reason, or I am going to die for... What did she say? it kind of changes her plight at the end, I think, because she, I don't know, I don't have it in front of me where she says it, but I'm wasting airtime.
No, I mean, I was gonna let you.
I'm like, I don't know. She's like, I was saved for a reason. So I feel like that's some foreshadowing. So maybe she isn't destined to die. Maybe she was saved for a reason, and maybe she's not the harbinger of death. Maybe she is going to help in the end. The Age of Darkness. I don't know. But I thought this was a really sad chapter.
Yeah,
she was just like, he's just like, I'll wait with you.
Right.
That's really sad.
Right. In this place surrounded by death.
Yeah.
All right, chapter 48. Hassan is fired up. He wants to attack because now, sure, I may not be the prophet, but my father's dead. Now I have a stake in this for real.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of a relief to him. Not that his father's dead, but like a relief in that, like, now I have a reason to still go. I have a reason to fight. I'm not wasting lives. I'm not wasting manpower, etc. So they make plans to anchor by the lighthouse, and they all go over details of the attack, who's going where, who's doing what, and they know that they have to get to the Godfire first if they want to succeed. So Hassan says his goodbyes to various people, including his aunt, and later that evening, Hassan and Khepri are going over the risks of their plan when they share a kiss. Ba-ba-bam. They are interrupted when one of the first mates come to get Hassan, claiming that there's something in the harbor approaching and he's needed. And Khepri, being graced, feels his heartbeat increase, and she's like, "You're lying. You do know what it is in the harbor." He's like, "No, I don't." She's like, "Yes, you do."
You sound like a bro. Oh, no, you don't.
That's exactly how I read it. And so she's trying to get him to admit it, but they incapacitate her, and it is revealed that his aunt has double-crossed him.
Yeah.
Whoa.
This reminded me of Game of Thrones. When they tell John
Totally.
I was like, oh my god, it's Game of Thrones. Yeah. So, yeah. Do we know that? Yeah, Lithia. Yeah. Lithia. Yeah, so we kind of guessed that she was a double crosser.
Yeah, there was just something going on with her character where it was like, something, I don't know. Yeah, I just got a hint.
Yeah, I love when authors are like, yay, they found love and the shaft.
Yes.
They do it every time.
Yes.
I don't know why I never see it coming, but they do it every time. All right.
Alrighty. 49, Ilya brings Anton to Lady Lethia, and it is revealed that she's been working closely with the Aerophant this entire time. So that's news. And she plans to take Nazira for herself because she's, of course, salty that she's not graced and didn't get the throne. And she is helping the Aerophant bring about the reckoning. Anything else for 49 for you?
No.
And then last chapter of our podcast today, chapter 50. Ifira arrives in Tel Amat and is reminded that she hasn't given Esha to Baru in a really long time, so a couple weeks, and she knows that she really doesn't have much time. She's got to hurry and find her. The guilt that she feels upon returning home overtakes her as she remembers that she is the reason that all of Medea is dead.
Yeah. That was a pretty... It was kind of... We see her really vulnerable at this point where she, like, literally falls, and it's just like, I gotta help her, and we're gonna have to face it together. Mm-hmm. All right. So thoughts so far?
This was a more on-the-nose section of chapters in terms of, like, what's happening in the book, and that's fine. As we discussed in our last episode, everything is really picking up. So now it's, like, pedal to the metal. I think that is pretty much going to carry us into the end of the book in terms of pacing and tone. But there's a lot of really good stuff set here, and I'm excited to see how the book ends.
A lot of new character growth with Hector, Baru, and Hassan. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I'm pleased because usually in the middle of fantasy books, this is when things really start to slow down in terms of character development, and that hasn't happened here. Yeah. So there's new things with every chapter that she's revealing about the characters that are like, oh, that makes sense, or that. So I'm liking that.
And it's not like filler. Like, I don't like it when writers just put filler.
Right.
Like, everything she writes has a purpose.
Yes.
Whether it's the way people look at each other, or heartbeat, or, you know, she doesn't write about some damn tree just because she can't think of nothing else. I hate that. Like, everything has a reason, which I appreciate. I like, what's her name? Lethea?
Lethea? I've
Lethea.
been saying Lethea.
Well, let's go with that. Lethea and Ilya's motive, you know, they're hell-bent on revenge as well. I think she set up Lethea's motive quite well in the beginning. We both kind of like, she's just okay with not being graced and being passed up for queen. Doubtful.
There's and correct me if I'm wrong, but she like said peace to Nazira a long time ago. Like, she's not there because she was exiled. She chose to go.
I think so. I don't know.
I think so too. And if that's the case, like, she didn't even want to stick around and like be there.
Yeah. I don't remember.
You're not okay.
So yeah, I thought all their motives were realistic and foreshadowed. Okay, so another thing that's sticking out is we have not seen the Hierophant. We have heard all about this guy.
I thought it was going to be Ilya.
As I was reading, I'm like, I was trying to figure out as well. I probably at one point I thought it was him too. I think I thought it was everybody at one point.
Yeah, I saw myself saying, oh, is it Lethea? Or, you know, oh, is it Ilya?
Yeah, no one's seen him.
No.
So I'm like, maybe it's not a man. Maybe it's a woman. Maybe
I think he's in Nazira.
Yeah, I think he's wherever Lethea is at. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
She's in Nazira, right?
Well, they're on a ship to Nazira now.
Oh, okay.
So I think, like, they're they're taking Jude and Anton and everybody to Nazira to, like, meet the Hierophant.
I like that we haven't seen the Hierophant yet. It really is building this guy up, whether he's going to be this amazing thing or not. It's still a big build up.
That could be a mistake in terms of character development.
True, it could be like a letdown, or it could be. But I mean, so far her writing is pretty good, so I'm not worried about it. I think it'll probably be, you know,
a good reveal.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for this section of There Will Come a Darkness. And next Sunday we'll be reading chapters 51 through the end of the book. It's about 100 pages. So far, I think we're liking it pretty well so far. Yeah. I'm excited to find out what happens.
Same.
And we will catch you in the next podcast.